something. I'm gonna see how far this guy will go before it starts squealing. Is anything you squealing out there?
Breaker 19, this is Viking Trucker. Please join my convoy as we drive right on into another great story. The day started like any other day out here on the ice roads. My name is Viking Trucker. No, that's not my actual name. It's a CB call handle. Anyway, my given name has nothing to do with this story. I was sitting in the diner enjoying my lunch when I was approached by another driver. This was going to be a large run. It was coming to the end of the ice road as the ice was starting to thaw, and we had to get these loads delivered to the villages that are only accessible during the ice road season. It was going to be a small convoy. I'm fairly young, but quite experienced with this type of run. Because of this, they had given me the lead spot in the convoy. I wasn't worried. I was confident in my abilities to perform the job at hand. As I mentioned earlier, I was approached by another driver in the diner. He was going to be part of the convoy making the run. I figured he'd want to discuss the run. He's a much older man. We call him Old Timer. That is his CB call handle. The story he shared with me chilled me to the core. It's actually more of a warning than a story. I kinda laughed it off, but I could tell he was dead serious. He also had this fear in his eyes. He did remind me, however, that I needed to plan for the worst case scenario out on the ice. "Pull up a seat, son," Old Timer says. "I've got something I need to tell you before we head out today." I pulled up a seat and asked what was on his mind. This is what he told me. "There's something strange going on out here, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Legend tells of a truck like no other. It's clear as glass except for the red glow that comes from the headlights, said to be as red as the eyes of Satan himself, and the smoke and flames that bellow from his stacks, said to be forged from the coals of hell. The reason why it's clear is because the truck is made of the very thing that ended it long ago. Think I might be getting a bit ahead of myself. You see, the truck is made of ice. You really don't ever want to see this truck coming your way. Many great drivers have lost their lives from encounters with the ice truck. Many others have gone straight to the nut house." I let out a chuckle. Is this one of those creepypasta tales? Boy, you think I'm gonna waste my breath on some fantasy bullcrap? If you ain't gonna be listening more seriously, then we done here. You understand, Junior? Yes, of course. Please continue. I'm sorry. Let me start from the very beginning. How the ice truck came to be in the first place. There once was an old-timer ice road trucker that had himself quite the reputation, but not the good kind. See? He's ruthless, evil, vindictive. Get what I'm saying? He's a bad man. We called him Old Man Winter. He'd run drivers into the snowbanks just for the hell of it, and drivers had even said he would get on the radio and taunt them while laughing hysterically, like some kind of lunatic madman. Luckily, no one had lost their lives from his antics. One day, young Rookie joined the ranks of the ice road truckers. We just called him Rook. He was very arrogant and wanted to make a name for himself, kind of like you. Hey, just keep listening, boy. He wanted to climb the ranks as quick as possible. He is a good man, however, and kept focusing on what he could do to earn everyone's respect and land himself a top spot amongst the ice truckers. That's when he heard about the things that Old Man Winter had been pulling on the other drivers. He then started formulating a plot on how he could take down Old Man Winter. Okay, so what happened then? I'm getting to it. If you just let me finish. Dang young folks today, tell you what, always in a hurry and don't know anything. Anyways, one day things just so happened to fall into place, and Old Man Winter and Rook were heading face to face on one of the worst parts of the ice road. This is the moment. They both lined each other up in a sadistic game of chicken, neither one willing to back down or give in to the other. As they approached one another, they both made the split decision to swerve. The mirrors of both trucks made contact with each other and are ripped from the trucks. Holy shit, I blurted out uncontrollably. Everyone in the diner all stopped talking for a second and turned to stare at me before continuing to go about their own business. If you're finished with your outburst, may I continue? I nodded my head yes for him to continue. Rook, having faster reaction time, was able to regain control of his truck and slow to a stop along the snowbank. Old Man Winter wasn't so lucky, unfortunately. Damn, I say in a low whisper while shaking my head back and forth. Old Timer continues his story. His truck ended up getting lodged in a snowbank on his side of the ice road. The weight created by the speed and impact of the two trucks caused the ice to crack and give way directly under Old Man Winter's truck, causing his truck to sink, taking him with it. Wow, that's an unfortunate ending. I ain't done yet, Junior, he scolded, while looking at me harshly. Rook was so upset over what had happened, he retired as a driver that day and moved south into the U.S. I could see why. I'd probably do the same thing. Old Timer looks at me with some disgust in his face, shaking his head back and forth. Anyways, Rook has no idea what hell he unleashed on the remaining ice truckers out here. You see it now? The ice truck and his driver are none other than the spirit of Old Man Winter, destined to roam the ice roads, seeking revenge on the one that sent him to his icy grave. Without Rook around, the ice truck is now on a never-ending mission, leaving nothing but death and destruction in its wake. The drivers that have survived the encounter with the ice truck and have ended up in the nut house speak of seeing the red glow of the headlights and seeing the dark clouds of smoke and fire coming from the stacks, followed by a roar that only something straight from hell could produce. It also brings the worst winter storms you can imagine. So wait, you think everything that's been going on for the last couple of years have been due to this thing, this entity, this spirit of Old Man Winter? That's some of the craziest shit I've ever heard, old timer. I truly don't mean any disrespect, but you might want to lay off the alcohol before taking on a job like this. Well, child, much disrespect taken. You can think what you want about me, though. Call me crazy even if you feel like it. But how do you explain all the freak winter storms of late and the condition of the drivers that have been caught up in them. I can tell you how to survive, though. I mean, if you're still willing to listen. Sure, lay it on me. How do I survive an encounter with Old Man Winter? It's easy enough to survive the encounter. Number 1, just get out of his way. Number 2, don't make eye contact with him as he passes by. Number 3, always be prepared to spend some time out on the ice after coming in contact with the ice truck. Many drivers that didn't survive were found frozen to death right in the middle of the ice road. I'm not talking like regular frozen either. I mean like flash frozen, truck and all, with the look of sheer terror on their faces. The drivers that ended up in the nut house were kind enough to get out of the way, but still looked him in the eyes when he passed by. Drove them completely insane. There were also some who made it through the incident fine, but their trucks were frozen solid and they were ill prepared. They succumbed to frostbite and or starvation. I'm telling you this story to try keeping you from becoming another one of his victims, and maybe be able to save your life one day. This was a lot for me to take in all at once, and I did think that old timer was pulling my leg for the most part, but he had said some things that got me thinking. I hadn't planned for any of the flash winter storms that have been popping up over the years. After I finished my lunch, I went to the local supply store to gather everything I needed to survive the harsh cold should we encounter any bad weather on the road. Forecast was calling for clear skies for our entire run, but weather is very unpredictable and can change in the blink of an eye. Once I had everything I needed, we went out and got it all loaded up in my truck. Some of the other drivers poked a little fun at me for bringing so much stuff. They were saying things like, "You pack for a trip like my wife. Where's the kitchen sink? I'm pretty sure it's in there too. What exactly do you expect to do out there? And watch out, boys. Don't follow too close to him now. All that gear will sink his truck as soon as he hits the ice." They all have a good laugh and carry on getting themselves ready for the run. Old Timer didn't even crack a smile. He just winked and gave me 2 thumbs up before turning to leave. We now have all our trucks in line and are ready to head out. We start with a drive through town until we reach the ice road. We were all laughing and having a good time on the radio up to this point. Now it's time to get serious. It's time to get on the ice road. Going from the pavement to the ice is one of the toughest and scariest parts of the ice road due to the ice being the thinnest and the weight that is caused from the weight of the trucks getting on the ice. The ice can be pushed against the solid ground, causing the ice to crack and give way, especially when it's thinning out. We've all made it out on the ice just fine, and we're making our way towards our destination. If you're not used to traveling on the ice road, it can be very unnerving. You can hear the ice cracking and popping, even over the sound of the engine. Even worse is the sound of the water sloshing around under the ice. At this point, the ice has also melted so much in the heat of the day that the ice is barely visible under the water. It looks as if you are literally driving on an ocean. As we continue our drive, day gives way to night, and conditions get even more hazardous as it becomes even harder to see the actual ice road under the water. Paying so much attention to the conditions, I barely noticed what was coming our way. In the distance, I can make out 2 red glowing dots and flames coming from higher up with black smoke billowing out. Behind it was a wall of snow and ice for as long and as high as the eye could see. I was squinting trying to make out what the hell it was, but all I could see was an outline of something. I tried to radio the other drivers, but all I could hear through the radio was static. All of a sudden came this hysterical laughter blaring from the CB. At this moment, ice started to form all over my radio. It was at this point that I remembered what Old Timer was telling me back at the diner. Everything seemed like it was slowed down. What was over and done with in a matter of minutes seemed like it had been hours. I got my truck pulled over as far as I could and hunkered down with my hood over my head. I could hear the hellish roar of the truck engine as it didn't even slow down to blow past us. I was hoping that all the other guys were doing the same thing as me. I felt something slamming the front of my truck with such force that it jolts me forward. If I weren't still wearing my seatbelt, it would have thrown me through the windshield. I realized that this was the force of the storm that was following the truck. The snow and ice was about 4 inches thick, covering my entire truck. Luckily, my engine was still running due to the snow guard I had installed over my grill to keep the heat in the truck. And I had picked up a military-style hand shovel from the supply store. I managed to dig my way out of my truck through the driver window I was able to get open. The sight was horrific. Only Old Timer and I were able to get off the side of the road. All the other trucks weren't so lucky and were frozen in the middle of the ice road. I checked on Old Timer first, as his truck was directly behind mine. That's why he was also able to move over in time. And I figured he knew what was coming our way when he heard the laughter that came through the radio. Old Timer seemed to be no worse for wear, although his truck wasn't able to start. We still had mine. We eventually got to all the trucks in our convoy. There were no other survivors. They had all been flash frozen, just as Old Timer described in his story. We managed to dig my truck out enough to get it moving again. It was tragic what happened to all the other drivers. So many good men gone in a flash. I did feel blessed that Old Timer and I had survived, however. I helped him gather all his belongings and transfer them to my rig. We contacted the authorities and let them know the situation. Old Timer and I were now tasked with getting all the loads delivered using one truck. The rescue team was sending out plows to clear the road, and we're going to remove all the other trucks minus the trailers. They were clearing a special pull-off to place the trailers in until we could get back to them. The storm did manage to make the ice road a lot more sturdy for a little longer, so we did have a little extra time to get the freight delivered, thankfully. I had started to notice some changes starting to come over Old Timer with every delivery we made, though. It's sad to say, but once everything was all said and done, he ended up in the nut house. Old Timer had told me just before he became too far gone that he ignored one of his own rules. He looked Old Man Winter in his eyes as he passed by. Old Timer told me he could see the souls of all the past drivers that Old Man Winter had taken out on the ice road. I never looked Old Man Winter in his eyes, but I've been noticing some changes slowly coming over me as time goes by. I still pay a visit to Old Timer every so often, although it's not as often as I'd like. Because now, as soon as I walk in his room, he takes one look at me and completely loses it. The changes I've been experiencing, however, I believe are coming from the utter disrespect of this younger generation. I've tried explaining the legend of the ice truck to them, and they just ridicule me, call me an old coot. I'm starting to get stressed more and more. I'm just pissed all the time. I honestly don't know what's coming over me. They've even gone as far as changing my CB call handle to Old Man Winter. I swear I'm going to start running them into the snowbanks and talk them over the radio and laugh like a real psycho as I pass them. Yes, this sounds like so much fun. And I've got something really special planned for that new guy, that arrogant little prick. What's his CB call handle? Oh, yes, Rook. He's going to get what's coming to him in a big way. Just you wait, Rook. Just you wait. Well, I tried to get revenge on Rook. However, it backfired on me big time. Turns out, I was too old to play any reindeer games. He ended up sinking me and my truck out on the ice. Yeah. Maybe that game of chicken wasn't the smartest idea. But not to sound like a child, he started it. I was just trying to finish it. Anyways, I'll get back to that later. I can't visit my friend Old Timer at all anymore. Since I'm a spirit now, it really messes him up. If he sees me standing in the dark corner of his room, he believes I'm Old Man Winter coming back to collect his soul. He's only half right. I am Old Man Winter now. But I don't want his soul. Not yet, anyway. Turns out it wasn't my encounter with the ice truck after all that turned me into this thing. It was fate. Every 100 years or so, a new soul is picked to continue carrying on this curse. I just happen to be next in line. I've been told by the powers that be that there is a way to break this curse, but all other drivers had been unlucky in doing so. Turns out Old Timer was right again. All that needs to happen is for Old Man Winter to get revenge once and for all on the rookie who had taken his life. Since all other rookies had quit and moved away after the incident, none of the previous spirits have been able to find their rookie. I've heard word that I could be the one. My rookie happened to be local and is so full of himself that he blames me for the whole incident and is still an ice road trucker to this day, which gives me the opportunity of a lifetime. A lifetime. I can end this curse for good, though. I've already been trying. So many useless souls I've collected so far. I'd be really pissed right now if it weren't for the overwhelming satisfaction I get from the moment they realize their ass is mine. Some I've taken just for sheer satisfaction. They were the ones who tormented me in life. Now I get to torment them for all eternity. Serves them little bastards right. I don't even get credit for my works of art. The pesky human race blames it all on freak winter weather outbreaks. However, the souls I've collected know the truth. The ones who have survived my wrath are so far gone no one believes what they say. They just say it's PTSD or some shit like that. Doesn't really bother me though, because if that rookie doesn't believe I'm real, then it makes my job so much easier. I don't really know what will happen when I find Rook, but I'm still very much looking forward to the day I collect on an old debt once and for all. Oh, I love it when drivers don't move when I come barreling down on them now. Oh, what a sight it is. At first they don't know what to think of the spectacle before them. Then they hear my laughter coming through the CB radio. Then they see me clearly and turn ghostly white. But wait, the best is yet to come. They lose all control of their bodily systems. Shit and piss everywhere. Grins. Then boom, frozen in fear, frozen in place. Soul belongs to me. It's freaking awesome. Now, I'm not completely heartless. For the ones who show a little respect and move out of my way, I try to give them another fighting chance. Some look in my eyes and can't handle seeing the tortured souls crying out for help, and they lose it. Others don't survive the cold. Sometimes when they are in a convoy, I can collect multiple souls at once. No way! Could it be? This just became my luckiest day ever. It's Rook. Completely oblivious to what's heading his way. Me! Everything is falling into place now. This is it. I can't help but fire up the mic. I can begin with my laughter. I got your ass now, Rook. I blurred out with excitement. Everything went just as expected, except something doesn't feel right. This encounter is different. I don't feel the same. Something is changing again. Breaking news, this just in. All the ice truck drivers down at the assisted living facility have begun to come out of their psychotic episodes and appear to be suffering from amnesia now. They don't remember anything from just before the winter storms that put them in the assisted living facility. However, they are otherwise healthy and should make a full recovery. In other news, there appears to be another freak storm that has taken the life of another driver. A man found at the scene appears to be another driver who was once thought to be dead. More to come after these messages. In an ironic twist of fate, we are getting word that the deceased driver was J.J. Smith, a 64-year-old veteran ice road trucker that was witness to a horrific accident 35 years ago where another truck went off the road and sunk into the water at the exact same place. The driver of that truck was Lewis White, who was 42 at the time. It is identified as the driver found at the scene today. He would be 77 years old, but reports are he still looks the same as he did 35 years ago. Mr. White also says he's burning up inside. Despite the temperature outside being well below freezing, His footsteps have melted the ice he's walked on. Mr. White had been sent to the assisted living facility where he's currently being cared for. So, I did happen to survive this whole ordeal. However, something is still wrong. The assisted living facility, aka the Nut House, is not sure what to do anymore. They've been putting me in ice baths constantly trying to get my internal temperature down. The powers that be are talking to me. They're saying that since I'm now human again, my body can't contain the evil within me. All the souls I've collected are now wanting to escape. If my temperature doesn't come down drastically, I'll die once and for all. I think I'd prefer that right now. The pain is too much. Not sure how much longer I can hold on. I'm not sure how much more my body can take. Breaking news. There was a fire at the assisted living facility last night. Sources say it was the room of Mr. White. It's believed to be a mysterious case of spontaneous combustion. This case is still under investigation, however. His room was the only one damaged at the time of the fire, and the only remains found were a skull, much too small to be his, and a foot. Everything else has been turned to ash. Many other things in his room were left untouched by the fire completely. All his family have already been notified and accepted the remains as his. Dental records also helped to prove this, even though the skull was only a third of the size it should have been. We will hold Mr. White's family in our prayers through their time of grief.
Breaker 19, this is Lycan Trucker, and I'd like to thank everyone who joined my convoy, and hope you all enjoyed the wild ride through this great story. This is Lycan Trucker, signing off, over and out.